of Bowie Candidates. I have just a few ground rules, if you don't mind, before we get started, and then we'll get right into why you're here, and that is to hear from the candidate, more of them than me. Okay, all cell phones need to be turned off. The candidates will have a 2-minute opening statement, each of them. They will be timed, and at the end of the 2 minutes, we're asking you to please try to end your statement quickly within those 2 minutes. At the end, the candidates will have another opportunity. They will do the ending of the evening statement. Questions during the forum will be presented to the candidates by myself, and these are questions that you, the audience, have sent forward in your on the index cards. Questions must be general and applicable to all members of the panel. If it's directed at a specific candidate, that question will not be asked. Or we will try real hard to redirect the question in a manner that all candidates can answer the question. Each candidate is given 60 seconds, which is 1 minute, to answer the question. The timekeeper, who is Sheila, she will come out front, and she will be able to Sheila is the person who will let you know when it's 30 seconds left, 15 seconds left, and when to stop. She will be out front, so you'll be able to see her. So wanted her up front just so you see who she is. We ask you to, again, be respectful of the other's time. We don't have any candidate that's absent, so the rule as it relates to positioning a person does not apply tonight. Candidates are welcome to wear their attire, which is a badge or a banner. Other folks in the audience, if you were to wear the paraphernalia of a candidate, we will ask that you cover it up at this moment. At the end of the forum, there will be an opportunity for the candidates to interact with you. So if you want to hang around, do so. Because we have 22 wonderful folks up here, you won't get as many questions because we'll be here all night because they all have to answer the same question. I'd like to congratulate each candidate for seeking election. And I do wish you well, and that comes from the League of Women Voters as well. So I'm going to ask Sheila to take her position as the timekeeper. Why don't you just sit in the center in that section? And we'll get started. We'll get started with the introductions of each candidate for 2 minutes. I don't want to select people on the end, so I'm going to randomly select people to ask questions as well as beginning and ending statements. So, why don't I start with Dustin? Dustin, you want to do the 2-minute introduction?
I get to be the leader. Okay, speak softly, okay. All right, hello, my name is Dustin Kuzan. I first moved to Bowie in 2009 when I bought a house here at the age of 23. I bought it with my college sweetheart at the time, and we bought here because we thought Bowie had a nice feel, a nice family-friendly atmosphere, which we wanted to raise a family here. A few months later, that didn't work out, so I ended up with the house, and I've been here since. So I've decided since then to get involved with the city. And I joined the Financial Advisory Committee in 2011. I was there for 5 years, and then I was HOA president of my community, joined the Green Team, started a group that focuses on walk and biking infrastructure, and also started the group that is focused on building the Arts and Entertainment District in Old Bowie. I'm running now to continue this service for the city, and I'm hearing from people that people are concerned about the direction that we're going and the development that's happening. I think I can bring to the council some skills and some expertise on things that we can use to build a community that we can all be proud of. I'm a licensed civil engineer with a master's in public administration. I have 12 years of government, working for government, passing policies, doing strategic plans, and implementing projects. I build communities up and down the East Coast and help deliver projects for those communities. And I'd like to bring all that to the City Council, and I plan on focusing on increasing our revenues through grants and other intergovernmental revenues, and then focus on revitalizing our existing shopping centers through creative placemaking. I'd like to invest in our city assets, such as the Bel Air Mansion, and make that a place that can generate revenue through weddings. And overall, I'd like to build a strong financial base through other means other than development. I think we can move towards this vision to build a city that's economically and environmentally sustainable, and build a vibrant, unique community with a strong sense of community and culture. And I believe I can build a community we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Okay, next to your left.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Wallace Dev. I'm a lifelong Bowie resident and longtime volunteer supporting seniors, veterans, and children and adults with disabilities. For the last 4 years, I've served on the Bowie City Council representing the residents of District 1. I'm running for re-election and hope to earn your vote on November the 5th. A little bit about me: I grew up in Bowie. My dad was an Army officer and my mom was a Prince George's County public school teacher. Growing up, I was active in local scouting. I made Eagle Scout with Troop 1009 at CCPC here in Bowie, and I was active with the Bowie Boys and Girls Club playing soccer and basketball poorly. I attended Prince George's County Public Elementary Middle Schools, graduated from DeMatha Catholic High School, and attended Loyola University, Maryland, where I received a BA, double majoring in political science and French. I wanted to be unemployable in 2 languages. After college, I went to work in finance. I remained active with the city, joining the city's Community Outreach Committee, where I studied issues related to senior housing, homelessness, and development. In 2015, I was elected to the City Council. I changed day jobs to give myself more time to fully jump into my role as a councilman and to be more accessible to residents, so I went to work doing freelance marketing. Currently, I'm employed by a nonprofit that supports children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. In my 4 years on the City Council, I attended every council meeting and every stakeholders meeting and held over 20 community meetings and town halls. I consistently stood up to developers and advocated for the protection of local green space. I consistently voted to balance our city budget with a focus on maintaining top-notch core services and without raising the city's tax rate beyond the current 40-cent rate. Over the next 4 years, I'm committed to continuing to improve core city functions, deliver proactive constituent services, and continue to listen to residents on the issues that impact their quality of life. I look forward to our conversation tonight. A big thank you to the League of Women of Prince George's County for hosting us this evening, and a big thank you all to joining us tonight.
We just going down? Okay. Hi, I want to also thank the League of Women Voters for hosting us all here tonight and for all of you coming out here and speaking with us this evening and giving us your questions. My name's Abby Schneider. I'm also running for City Council in District 1. I grew up in Bowie. I went to Bowie High School. I spent many a night on this stage, actually, as a member of the choir and in the shows while I was here. I then went on to Towson University and graduated with a BS in biology, and I now work at an intellectual property firm in the district and am a secretary for 2 of the partners there. I've also been very active in our community here. I coach freelancing at the Bowie Ice Arena, and that's kind of what brought me here today. I spent some time with the City Council with our very big hot topic of the ice rink this summer, and I realized that I felt like we weren't quite getting the representation that we needed with the options to move forward with projects. And just because a project that's on the table is not being approached in the way that you want it doesn't mean that there isn't another option. And so I'm really hoping to bring to the City Council some more options. I've been talking to a lot of people from my age that I went to high school with here, and they want options to come back home. And so we have a lot of development issues that are on the table right now, and they want to be able to afford things, and people don't want to bring in apartments because they're worried about the pricing, but we need to have ways to bring them back home too. So I'm hoping to be able to advocate for moving some development forward, but in a very responsible way, and I think that's probably the most important thing. So thank you all so much.
Can the audience hear the candidates? Thank you. Could you please say your name before you start speaking? Thank you.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mayoral Waffle. I'm your District 2 City Councilman. I have the good fortune in that no one is running against me. So I really count my blessings this evening. Nonetheless, I've been out door knocking, campaigning, participating in forums, just to ensure that I keep getting an understanding of what's on my constituents' minds. Try and keep my finger on the pulse, if you will. And I learned so far that the issues are continuing to be the same. Traffic, overdevelopment, taxes, fiscal responsibility, and a general feeling that the City Council is not necessarily responsive to its constituents, but at other times is more interested in responding to the interests of special needs. So I'm here to continue that pattern of listening to constituents, to hearing what the questions are, and to responding. With that in mind, I'll try and be brief. It's a tough thing for someone, a candidate, to do, but I know that there are other people that you'll probably want to hear a bit more from. So I will keep things busy at the council, but I'll be brief this evening, and hopefully we can get out of here and watch the Nationals game. Thank you.
Adrienne Waffle, District 3. Let me start by thanking everyone here today. As Mr. Wolfley just pointed out, there's a Nationals game, a presidential debate, so I'm surprised that all of you guys are here. But it shows that you guys are engaged in your community. Again, my name is Adrienne Waffle. I'm a lifelong resident of the City of Bowie. I'm a graduate of DeMatha Catholic High School, the University of Baltimore, and American University with a graduate degree in business. I spent most of my professional career working for members of the United States House of Representatives. One from Nevada, one from California, and now I have the fortune to work for our member of Congress, our Congressman Steny Hoyer, in his campaign and political shop here in the state of Maryland. I've been fortunate to travel across this entire country, and what I've seen is local leadership matters. Accountable leadership matters. And that's why I'm running. I'm running because I want everyone in District 3 to have a seat at the table. I'm running because, Bowie Town Center, I remember when it wasn't there. And now it has turned into not this strong economic powerhouse that we know it can be. I'm running because too many times local leaders, appointed or elected, say yes to development without thinking of the infrastructure needs and what happens. That's why I'm running. And I'm running, to be frank, because it's time for a new generation of leadership, a new generation that understands what's going on, that has a unique perspective, that has lived in the city their entire lives and have seen the changes and the growth in the city. So that's why I'm running. Again, I want to thank you guys for being here today. I know it's pretty hard. Please don't leave on us. We want you to stay. I also want to thank the League of Women for all that they do, both in Prince George's County and across the country, in empowering folks to be educated. Thank you. Again, Adrienne Waffle, District 3.
Good evening. Mike Bird, District 3. Good evening, Bowie. I humbly ask for your vote to serve you, the citizens of Bowie, as your next District 3 council member. Huge thanks again goes out to the League of Women's Voters for hosting this event, but more importantly, sincerest thanks go to you for being here to come out and listen to us this evening, which shows that you are thoroughly engaged and care about the direction of our city. I bring a passion and a desire to serve the city of Bowie, but most importantly, I bring Bowie City relative experience, as documented by my many years participating in and on various City of Bowie committees and civic organizations. I've been a resident of Bowie for over 15 years, actively involved serving my community. On my neighborhood's HOA, I was the treasurer and the vice president. I've coached with the Bowie Boys and Girls Club. I was Cub Master of Pack 403. I was involved with my kids' school board of trustees for a number of years. And currently I sit as the chairman of the advisory planning board here in the city of Bowie. Today's event highlights one of my campaign's most important tenets, civic engagement. I pledge to involve you, all of District 3, as well as those citizens from the other districts, as we make a difference in our community on a daily basis. My vision is to keep Bowie ranked as one of the #1 or within the top 100 of the country, as we're ranked currently right now. I want to involve all of you as we take control of Bowie development based upon our needs and our desires, not based upon the needs and desires of others outside of the city. I want to advocate for our children and our seniors, and I want to support initiatives that keep us safe. I will always use citizen participation as a mantra for me as we drive city policies forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a little tight in here. Ms. Starks, I will respectfully ask that it's okay if I stand. It's a little tight in here. I think we'll do better standing. Good evening, Bowie. My name is Dave Grogan. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, and most importantly, I want to thank and recognize the mayor of Bowie. Mayor Frederick Robinson. This city is considered one of the best cities in the country to live. So I think it's most appropriate to thank you for your service. Congratulations on your retirement. And one of the things, I will be quite honest, I can't see who's out there. Mayor Robinson, I think you're out here somewhere. So, okay. But anyway, like I said, my name is Dave Grogan. I'm a longtime Prince George's County resident. I grew up in Oxon Hill, graduated from Oxon Hill High School in Glass Manor. I migrated to Bowie in 1986. 1 month after I graduated from high school, I reported to Paris Allen to become a United States Marine. I'm a proud United States Marine. From there, I came here in 1986 to go to Bowie State. I'm a Bowie State graduate. While I was at Bowie, I worked for the Secret Service, and I also worked for the Department of Justice, United States Marshal Service. When I graduated from Bowie State University, I had an option to become a United States Secret Service agent or a U.S. Marshal. I chose to become a U.S. Marshal. I did 25 years, and I retired back in 2013. Since that time, I really had to dig back and figure out what did I want to do next in my life. And what I realized is that I've been serving my entire life, from the time I graduated from high school, from the time I graduated from college. 1 month when I left college, I reported to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center to become a Deputy United States Marshal. But my passion is education. So Mayor Robinson, we share something in common. My 3 top priorities is education, education, education. And I will be the one advocating for your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, who most of them will know me because I've been in our schools for over 25 years. For career days, just spoke at a school yesterday. Your kids know us. I am a candidate that represents the future of Bowie, and I thank you all.
Good evening, Bowie. My name is Kevin Motley, the father of 4 daughters, husband of 1 wife for 25 years, resident of Bowie for 12. I want you guys to look at me not as a candidate, but as a resident of Bowie, a concerned citizen of Bowie, to realize that the reason why I moved to Bowie 12 years ago was the community value. And what I'm realizing is that the overdevelopment of Bowie is straining the community value of Bowie. And what I realize is that as we knock on doors, there are other concerns that people are talking about. We have issues other than schools, infrastructure, diversity, development, community relations, and safety. We have to understand that we have renters who want to be inclusive as well as you guys. The thing that I've realized as I looked at the community council meetings is that there's a lot of inclusiveness. You guys are not included with a lot of things. There are a lot of things that are moving forward without the residents being aware. There's a lot of underrepresentation. And as your representative, to keep you informed on what's going on, I want to say that my campaign will not end after the elections are over. To get you guys involved means that we have to have community. And with unity, we create community. What I realize is that people don't know who their neighbors are. We are not talking about what's going on in this great city that we live in. We recognize that schools are underpopulated, overpopulated, and we need to move these things around where our financial situation works within a rehab of Bowie. We have a lot of things that are coming into Bowie that we're not even involved in. But what we do have here is a sense of community. As your representative, I want to get you guys involved back to the point where people are seeing Bowie. A lot of people are attracted to Anne Arundel County, and they're looking past Bowie. But Bowie is the gateway. It is the gateway to what? My time is up.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Darian San Carter, and I attended the University of Maryland, and when I graduated, this has become my home. I wish to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this critically important event and for you all for attending today. As a nationally recognized leader with over 15 years of experience, I've received numerous awards for community engagement initiatives, excellence, innovation, and leadership. And so tonight's attendance with the debate that's happening this evening, with the Nationals game, is to be commended. So we have increasingly become a global community, and that's reflected by our current national and international political climate. And so we are a microcosm of what we see in the world. And what we need is more humanity, to embrace our neighbors, and to collaborate through what I call shared governance, through all that we do in Bowie to reimagine the city that we live in. Imagine the possibilities of what we can accomplish together if we're willing to open our minds, broaden our perspectives, and think differently. So strategic budgeting requires that our vision is reflected through our budget, that we have full transparency and collaboration from all residents. Sustainability, yes, environmentally, but also sustainability economically and socially. And then development, that we ensure that we have the infrastructure to support development, that we take a pause and take a look at the development that's already been approved, that's coming down the pike, to see what is the impact of that development. As your incumbent, I recognize the importance of this role and the significance. I have experience locally, regionally, and nationally, and I understand the relationships and partnerships are key. Here lies our greatest opportunity to build and nurture relationships with stakeholders that impact our community on the county and state level, and for us to reimagine our city to keep Bowie vibrant and dynamic. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leon Buck, and I'm a candidate for the District 4 council seat in Bowie, Maryland. I spent 25 years working for members of Congress in the federal level. I served as a chief of staff, legislative director, and staff director in the United States House of Representatives. I also served in city government as a legislative director for Mayor Sharon Pratt Kelly and Marion Barry. So I have a lot of years of government service in the legislative process and understanding how the legislative process works. But I'm running for the city council because for the past 16 years since I've lived here, I served as a baseball and basketball coach for our youth in the city. And what I've learned from serving and working with those young men is that that's where it starts, to the commitment, the service, and the passion to work with people in Bowie. And so I want to bring that same service, compassion, and commitment as a city councilman. Someone who understands what it means to serve the citizens. I was on the city's recreation committee where I worked with then District 3 City Councilman Todd Turner to add things to the recreation budget. So I know how a municipal bond works. I know how a city budget works. And so I want to bring that same compassion as your next city councilman, District 4. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Helen King, and I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi. However, I have lived here in Maryland, more specifically Prince George's County, since 1988. I am a school administrator. I have been a principal, vice principal, you name it, I've done it here in Prince George's County, and more specifically, I'm home. I'm right back at Bowie High School, where I started in 1988. When they gave me that assignment, I thought the school system was going to tell me, be quiet and leave the office. I jumped up and down. I was truly happy. I have seen a lot of things that have changed in the school as well as in the city. I actually live in the city of Bowie. I want to see this school improved in a lot of ways. The building was built in 1963, 64, 65, some time frame like that. If you have been in this building recently, you can see what I see. I believe that we need to have a new school, or our school need to have some serious repairs. And I say that in a very respectful manner. We are building new houses right across from the neighborhood I'm in. There are 535 people or so in that particular neighborhood going across the tracks, a new shopping center, new neighborhood in terms of townhouses and houses. Where are we going to put all these kids? We have temps, we have M buildings, we need help. I honestly believe that we need a new school. This one needs to be repaired, and I also want to see additional police officers in the city of Bowie. I love you all. I love Bowie.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Antonio Lindsay, and I'm here today because I'm running for council of City of Bowie, District 4. I was compelled to enter this election because District 4 residents needed someone who would be a strong advocate for them. You see, I'm just an ordinary person who does extraordinary things for people. Right now, District 4 residents are lacking the advocacy they need. I feel their pain. Why? It's because I am a District 4 resident as well, and my voice has not been heard in so many years. My experience derived from the District of Columbia, councilmen and mayors. In 2016, I was the Assistant Director of Community Outreach for Leon Andrews. 2014, I was the Director of Community Outreach for Marion Bowser, who is currently the mayor right now, to this day. Also, for Vincent Gray, I assisted him in his election, and also I served under Mayor Fenty in closing loopholes to create jobs, and also advocated for federal funding for DC government. When I worked at DC government, I advocated for people with intellectual disabilities for over 15 years. I created a mechanism that created jobs and better opportunities. I will carry on this experience if I'm elected as your District 4 City Council. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Derrick Mallard. I come to you today to tell you about myself as I run for City Councilman, District 4 of Bowie. I grew up in Washington, D.C., ladies and gentlemen. I was born and raised there with my mom and dad and my brother and my sister. We later then moved to Prince George's County, where I then bought a home for myself. And then later on, married with my wife and my 3 boys. We currently live in Bowie in Devonshire Estates. I currently work for WMATA, which you may know as Metro. I've been a bus operator, I've been a train operator and station manager. Currently, I am second vice president of that union, and what I do, I deal with 10,000 people in a day. I deal with their pensions, their medical, their payroll, and other issues they may have. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running for District 4 City Council because I feel Bowie needs a voice that's been lost between politics and overdevelopment. I would like to talk strongly about building a community, economic development, transportation, and public safety. But I would also like to work with the citizens of Bowie to keeping Bowie great. Anything that I do hands-on. I can't do it from my office. So being involved in the community and working with the citizens is what I like to do. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Derrick Mallard, and thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Roxy Ndebu Madu, and I'm running for Bowie City Council in District 4. I remember in 1999 being a little girl sitting in the backseat of the car driving down Northview Drive when we were driving to our new house. I never imagined that I would face so much injustice and so much tragedy, but essentially I was raised by the community. I was raised by the teachers of Bowie High School. They taught me how to be the woman that I am today. Today, I sit in front of you as one of the youngest women at Microsoft, leading a team of technical advisors that support technologies for the Department of Defense. I'm running on a vision to stop overdevelopment, to promote safety, to put education first, to promote sustainable transformation. I understand that sustainable transformation can only occur when we put people first, when we put citizens first. And that's why I'm running. I'm running to bring the citizens back into the picture, to bring accountability back to the city council, to represent diversity. Diversity looks like every one of you out there in the audience. It doesn't look like what our city council currently looks like. And if we're looking to transform and move in a direction of the future, we have to include young people. We have to include people of all different backgrounds that have experience in politics and that don't have experience working in local government. And so that's why I'm running. I'm running to bring back the accountability, and I'm also running to be an outside perspective to promote technological innovation and to put citizens first.
Tim, you're next.
Good evening. First, thank you to the League of Women Voters and to you, the citizens, for being here, as well as to all those who put themselves out here to run for elected positions. As you know, my name is Tim Adams. I've been a resident of Bowie for 25 years now. I've been fortunate enough to raise my family here. I think that the one thing that really is important about Bowie is how much we love it. We all know that the city is somewhere that we have had an opportunity to grow and to raise our families. You know, my basic premise has been to make sure we keep Bowie safe, keep Bowie beautiful, but most importantly, to keep Bowie family friendly. And I need to just go right at that and just simply say, we won't be able to keep Bowie family friendly if we continue the overdevelopment. And when I speak of overdevelopment, I'm really talking about that real dense development. Everyone has a right to develop on their land. As a businessman, I understand that. But I don't think we should go around changing the zoning simply to fit the needs of developers. So having said that, I've been very lucky in my life. Every day, hundreds of men and women get up and put on my SATEC badge and go out and do national defense and national security. I've dedicated my life over the last 30 years serving the men and women in uniform. As a businessman, I've worked with very large budgets over decades. I understand what the business community needs, and I look forward to working with the business community to reinvigorate our retail stores and to work with our local businesses so that our small and women-owned businesses and local businesses can thrive. I look forward to being able to utilize the relationships we have and bring them here to the city so that we can look at how we can improve in education, so that we can look at how we can get some smarter programs for after school. Did she say time? Did she say time?
Time is up for him.
Yes,
You're next.
It's difficult to hear.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Can we get a mic for the timekeeper?
Do you want me to go ahead and speak while you're... Oh, okay. I want to start off by thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting this very important forum. I think to educate the voters is essential for democracy. And I want to thank all the citizens, both here and at home, for coming out and participating in this as viewers and asking questions. And I commend the candidates for putting their name forward. This isn't an easy task, and this is the hurdle you overcome, and then the big job comes later. And I also want to thank my wife and my two four-legged kids at home for putting up with me. My name is Dennis Brady, and I'm running for mayor. Many of you will remember I spent 22 years in the Bowie City Council from 94 to 2015. So I have the experience and the knowledge base that's been gained over that time. This is the 12th campaign I've run in 25 years, and over that time I never took a contribution from a developer because I felt it important that I be trusted by you in the decisions that I make. And whenever I cast a vote on development issues...
1 minute.
And whenever I cast issues on the budget, on city services, on things that related to the county, park and planning, and the state, it was always with the intention of doing what was in the best interest of the citizens of Bowie. A quick bio on me. I grew up in the Army. Both parents were in the Army. I spent 6 years in the Navy, rode a submarine out of New London, Connecticut. After Navy, I put myself through college and have degrees in electrical engineering and
30
nuclear
seconds.
engineering. The engineering background gave me the analytical skills and the problem-solving skills that I applied for the 22 years I was on the council, and I believe the city benefited from my prior experience. I am a federal employee, and as I said, 22 years in the city council, so I believe I am well positioned to step into the job of mayor on day one and move forward and move the city forward in a positive way.
Time.
I thank you very much.
Good evening, voters of Bowie. I am seeking the office of mayor of the city of Bowie. My name is Keith Jackson. I pledge to bring community and government experience, sound judgment, and know-how to office. During my tenure as a federal government volunteer, city committee participant, and former active police explorer in my youth, I gained an understanding of the complexities of local, state, and federal government, including its capabilities and limitations. In my candidacy, I see helpful and positive roles for the mayoralty. Most importantly, the primary role for the mayor should be to be an advocate for the people of the city. There are many issues that will come before us in the next 2 years. They include transportation issues like infrastructure and transit service. In addition, we need to strengthen our community foundations to bring more jobs to Bowie. Second, the mayor should be a vital and active communications link between the people and the city. In my role as a longtime volunteer and federal employee, I'm constantly in touch with both citizens and business owners. Working with the general public, I understand their needs and desires. Third, as mayor, I can be a valued partner with the city manager by taking advantage of my experience, skills, and perspectives gained from my 5+ years of community activism. Fourth, because of this experience, I have people skills that can be used to bring people together toward common goals and unity. The issues before us continue to be balancing fiscal responsibility with sound judgment, which I can finesse with ease given my tax expertise and background. I believe the foundation of any thriving community should include education, the arts, shopping, and recreation. If we want to attract strong companies to the area with better jobs, we must work to enhance and expand these categories. I look forward to a positive campaign, meeting citizens, and tackling challenges.
30 seconds.
Thanks. Good evening. My name is Len Lucci. I'm running for mayor of Bowie. Thank you, Joyce, and thank you to the League of Women Voters of Prince George's County for putting on this forum. And thanks to all of you for taking your Tuesday evenings to come out here and listen, because this is what democracy is all about. But I would like to let you in on a little secret if you don't tell anybody else. Standing up here and with the lights in our eyes, we can't really tell who's out there. And so if at 8 o'clock some of you disappear to go watch the game, we won't know. So I just want to let you know that. I am running for mayor for one simple reason. I love the city of Bowie. I was raised here. My wife and I raised our two wonderful children here. They've now flown the coop. And so I figured what better time to offer my continued service to the city of Bowie, especially now that Mayor Robinson has decided not to run again, and I'm honored to have his support. When my parents moved here some 50-some years ago, the city had a population of about 1,000 people, and now the population is approaching about 60,000 people. And the city still has a great small town feel, but it has some big city issues. And addressing those issues depends on knowing how the county and the state and the federal government works. And that's my skill set. As an advocate, as a county attorney for County Executive Wayne Curry, as a city representative in Annapolis, and as the president of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce, I have a record of getting things done at all those levels and helping out the city of Bowie. I think the city government needs to be a customer-friendly place. I plan to have office hours the first Saturday of every month around the city, and I'd be honored to have your support. And this is yours.
Hello. Hello, Bowie. My name is Emerson DeWood Ruth, and I want to be your next mayor. I believe it's my purpose at this time in my life to serve our city. I have the integrity, knowledge, and courage to lead our city to a safe, prosperous, and nurturing future. Our city has experienced an extreme amount of growth, and we still have a lot more potential. As we move to this next phase, we need to think more about local control over our land use, our schools, and our local development. We need to also engage our city council more. We need to provide more advocacy to our county council, to our county school board, to our state government and our local local government and our national government to ensure Bowie gets the right attention that it really needs. As your mayor, your concerns are my concerns. I will be responsible for ensuring the legislation that the city council puts together is enacted with the help of the city manager and all city services. As the mayor, I must also advocate for you locally, countywide, nationwide, and internationally. I have public administration experience. I have advocated locally. I have advocated on the county level and nationally on concerns that we all have daily. I have also met with international leaders who also have the same concerns that we have. We have to understand that Bowie is growing, and leadership is paramount. I have served our country as a United States Marine. I have led communities as 8 years as a school board member in other communities. I have also policed our communities as a retired Los Angeles police officer, and I'm also devoted to this community. My name is Emerson DeWood Ruth, and I'm devoted to this community. Please look us all up on social media and all those media platforms, and also for my extensive career that I've done serving the community. Thank you.
Time.
Good evening, everybody.
Don't start yet.
Can you hear me? Can I start now? Good evening, everybody. I have to
Don't
thank...
start yet. All right, I'm back online. Go ahead, sir.
Again, good evening, everybody. I have to thank the League of Women Voters because I wouldn't know that I was selected to be a delegate to the National Convention of one of our parties in 2016 because I thought they were lying after 20 years trying. So I have what you call grit. I don't quit. Now, I'm not going to go back on what most of our wonderful candidates have said. You all know our problems in the city, okay? But I'm going to go to one of the things that I really love, that is serving. Love of service to others. I'm a trained nurse. Daily when I leave my house, I go straight up to Washington, D.C. VA Medical Center, and I love what I do every day. I serve our geriatric veterans. I'm not going to talk about myself. Today, I spent 45 minutes. A resident of Bowie came for care. I have to be called. I cleaned this man up. He came home looking the way he should look. I love serving others. I've served on the diversity committee, my own money spent with the Bowie Youth Town Youth Mentoring, I do that. I've coached our children with the Catholic Youth Sports. So I'm on the Community Research Advisory Board for the state of Maryland. I've served as a legislative intern. So I'm not new to public
30
policy.
seconds.
Every day, when you work with the federal government, you know you got to do things by rules. I have what you call integrity, top notch. And above all, when I'm elected, I'm bringing my I care values: integrity, commitment, advocacy, respect, and excellence for the office. We need leaders who have respect for the rule of law. We do need, Bowie has his share of stuff. I'm glad to see Adrian and Roxy, because we need diversity on the council. Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Henri Gardner, current council member at large for the City of Bowie, and I am running again for re-election. Many of you know me, most of you know me, and most of you know what I've done. Tonight, you'll hear from many candidates here tonight that will tell you what their plans are and what they plan to do for the city. Tonight, I plan to reiterate what I've done for the city. I've been on the council for 8 years, and for being on the council for 8 years, I've devoted myself to being dedicated to you, the residents of the City of Bowie. I've made myself available 24 hours a day. I answer phone calls, emails, text messages from many residents that have a variety of issues, concerns, or questions. Sometimes residents just want direction, wanted to find out how to navigate through the government and the bureaucracy. Since being on the council, I've not been so very popular with some of my colleagues because I voted against many development projects.
1 minute.
And one of those in particular that I really definitely am very proud that I voted against was the apartments at Marketplace. And why did I vote against those apartments? Because you asked me to vote against them. I was elected to work for you. I do not represent any special interest groups. I do not side with the party or one party or the other. Again, I work for the residents of Bowie.
30 seconds.
I've served in the United States Armed Forces in both the United States Army as well as the Air Force Reserves. There in the Army, I was a recruiter and a combat medic, and like my colleague beside me, I also served as a combat nurse, practical nurse. But again, I ask for your vote. I can't win without it. Bowie residents, let's continue our marriage. Let's continue our marriage. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Good evening. My name is Ingrid Harrison, and I would be honored to serve you, the residents of Bowie, as one of your at-large council members. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and inviting me to participate, and thank you all for being here. I believe I bring the value, experience, commitment, community service, diversity, and the passion for helping the people of the City of Bowie. The city is missing a critical voice for a large population that statistically encompasses the majority of voters in most elections, women. And what I recently learned is that of the 27 municipalities in Prince George's County, the Bowie City Council is the only council made up of all men. It is time that our voice is heard once again on the City Council, and I want to be that voice, not only for women, but also for the citizens that do not feel their concerns are being heard. As a resident of Bowie and Prince George's County resident for over 24 years, I have a significant history of professional experience in serving the citizens of Bowie, as demonstrated through my work as a current elected official on the Central Committee, my work as a workforce development professional, work with state officials, work as president of a successful nonprofit, and most importantly, my job as a mother to my 2 children. As your at-large council member, my most important job is listening to you and taking care of constituent concerns. The best part of this campaign journey has been knocking on over 3,000 doors and listening to the ideas and concerns of the residents.
30
Some of the
seconds.
top issues shared with me include development, taxes, code enforcement, Bowie Town Center store retention, and community involvement. One thing about me, I'm a woman of my word. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I will do it. And the only people I'm beholden to are you, the citizens of Bowie. I know this will be a tough job, and I have to make tough decisions, and some of them may not be as popular as others, but you will know where I stand. That's not political rhetoric. That's who I am. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question, a lot of the candidates hit up on it, but I had like 8, so I've combined the question on development, so I hope you don't mind. What I want to do is ask that each candidate will talk about what they plan to do when they're elected into office as it relates to development, the overdevelopment, and how they plan to improve Bowie with development. 3-part question: the overdevelopment, what you plan to do with development, and how you plan to improve Bowie as a result of development. Why don't we start with Keith?
Excuse me, moderator. Is that for 1 minute?
That's for 1 minute.
Thank you.
1 minute.
I think that Bowie is already overdeveloped. I do not pledge to develop Bowie any longer. I had stepped out of Bowie for a while, and I'd gone to my maternal grandparents' house in Suitland, and I noticed that Bowie was very overly developed. I did not know that until I had stepped out and looked over it via Wikimapia. But I do not pledge to develop Bowie anymore, and I think that what Bowie can do with development is what I do to plan to improve Bowie is to work with what we already have and improve the infrastructure we already have.
30 seconds.
Are you all done?
I am.
Okay, go ahead, Len. Okay. If you need me to repeat the question, I will.
I think I got it.
Okay.
3-part question, 1 minute. Here we go. Development. My job as mayor is to lead the council to making sure that anybody who comes to the city wanting to do business here as a developer, that the Bowie gets the best deal for Bowie. And sometimes the best deal for Bowie means no deal. And I think I have to go into that in mind. With regard to older developments, we have some developments now that are 50 years old. We have Old Bowie, which is 100 and some years old. I'm all for redeveloping Old Bowie. Let's buy up the old antique stores. Let's make something nice and walkable there. And I think we could fix up our older communities as well. How do we improve Bowie? Stricter code enforcement, more traffic enforcement, and having just a better quality of life and making sure we enjoy the quality of life that we've always had.
15 seconds.
That's it. Mitch, this way.
No, go that way.
The word overdevelopment, right there, it's wrong. It can't be overdeveloped. But development must occur. 58% of the city's budget comes from real tax revenue. So obviously, development has to happen. But it can't be overdeveloped. Developed should be sustainable and balanced. How do we improve it? We improve it with using the cutting edge of all things that are happening today. Mixed-use space, having businesses at your bottom level, living space on
30
top.
seconds.
It makes more of a walkable community, sustainable community. And when you do develop, you have to put back what you took down. You have to add back in your trees. You have to add back in your walking spaces and all items like that to make a real walkable community. Also, when it comes to...
15 seconds.
I'll stop at that.
Starting from the old development, I believe the Old Town Bowie needs to be developed to serve the citizens that live around there better. That's number one. For the new development, because there is nothing really we can do about all these plans that they already approved. It's just going to happen. All we could fight for is to make sure that all this other development that is coming up, we should vote it down. How do we do that?
30
to
seconds.
make sure that any development that does not have the adequate infrastructures to back it up, we should not encourage it to be developed. And I do believe that our city can do better in terms of
15 seconds.
improving our code enforcement, and also to make sure that we do not only believe in developing, we should look for other ways to raise our taxes. Because really, and
Time.
stay away from.
Thank you for the question. I do want to ask the question if it's overdevelopment or old, OLD development, because
Overdevelopment.
OLD?
OVER.
Okay, yes. Okay, because one of our guests tonight spoke to old development. Okay, so yes, overdevelopment. Well, first, I do want everyone to know, and many of the residents know me as Henri Gardner. I, again, have voted against many of the development projects. Overdevelopment is definitely something that we have are experiencing currently. One of the groups that I'm proud to say has endorsed me has asked for a moratorium to be placed on development projects, and I definitely agree with that. It is imperative that we do send someone back to the council who has some history, some historic information, because we have a number of development projects in the pipeline, and we do not need to bring on additional projects that we cannot handle. Basically, bringing on additional homes to our community. Our roads are already overcrowded. I do support the expansion of 197. It took me quite some time to get here today because of that bottleneck right there in front of Benjamin Tasker, okay? 450.
Time.
We need to be concerned about these roads and projects before we approve them. Thank you.
I believe the first priority for the city is to work on strengthening our infrastructure prior to bringing in any development projects. We must seriously consider the impact of future development on city services, public safety, schools, property values, roads, our environment, traffic, and pedestrian safety. In my conversations with residents, it's not that they dislike development, they dislike the impact development has on their everyday life, the traffic, safety concerns, property values, and any tax increases. And in regard to economic development, there are 3 questions we need to ask. What are the best businesses for Bowie? Consider if the residents' needs are met and ensuring we are diversifying. What causes people to spend money outside of our city? And what incentives do we offer to attract businesses based on those needs and higher-end establishments residents would like to have?
Okay, when it comes to development, I like to look at development in two different things, with new development and revitalization of existing development. And new development, I'm not convinced that the revenues that we generate from that are enough to outdo the burden that they put on the infrastructure around it. I think with new development, we need to adhere to the master plan, and we need to work to get the next master plan right and stick to that. Number 2, we need to preserve our open space and our woodlands. For the Jesuit property, for example, we need to find grants to preserve the historic nature of that. We also need to be tough on any new development that comes in and maximize a return and not give away things to them. For redevelopment, we need to have very creative redevelopment, an old Bowie Arts and Entertainment District, and we also need to have creative placemaking at Marketplace and Bowie Town Center. We're not residential, but creative placemaking to bring business to those centers.
Wallace Dev, District 1. So if you go into the offices of most of the developers who do business here in Bowie, there's a very good chance that somewhere affixed to their wall will be a dartboard with a large picture of me taped to it. Because in the last 4 years, I've had a lot of difficult conversations with a lot of the folks who do development projects in Bowie who own land here, explaining to them that as I've been door knocking over the years, and I've knocked on every voter's door in my district every year that I've been on the city council, whether it's an election year or not, that development is issue number 1, 2, and 3 that's brought up.
30 seconds.
And that residents have a lot of concerns that, one, the development adds a lot of congestion, taxes our infrastructure, but also that the lion's share of the tax revenue that comes from new development goes to the county, and that money doesn't necessarily get invested back here. The city gets a little money from
15
development,
seconds.
but the lion's share doesn't necessarily come to Bowie schools, to Bowie infrastructure, and to Bowie roads. And so I voted against just about every residential development project we have had. Moving forward, we need to continue to engage residents to make sure that they are heard in development issues, and I pledge to continue to do that.
Are you ready for me? I think one of the biggest things when we talk about development, our bigger issue than housing and all of these other things, is getting new businesses back into Bowie. We have so many areas. We have Old Bowie, we have the Bowie Town Center. There's so many areas that just need a little love. They just need the businesses to come in that are going to support the citizens that are here and what they want. We need to be reaching out to other businesses before we even begin talking about these housing and development projects on that end. It's really important that we get some new things
30
over in
seconds.
Old Bowie specifically. That's one of my biggest points. I think doing an arts and entertainment district is a great way to bring some life back to that area that just needs a little something to give it the spark that it has. And then at the end of the day, yes,
15
we do
seconds.
need to have some new residents coming in, but the biggest issue is the businesses.
Good evening, Dufour Wolfley, District 2. I think my positions and track record on this subject are pretty well known throughout the district and the community at large. And I think I fall in the same category with developers as Councilman Stev does as well. The big issue I think that we have to be concerned about, the next big issue, is in fact the Jesuit property. And I'm committed to opposing that overdevelopment. There have been middle of the night
30 seconds.
changes to zoning that people are looking to make to try and overdevelop that property, and I'm committed to doing everything we can within the city's powers to help stop it. Thank you.
Adrienne Waffle, District 3. There are 16 proposed developments, most that run through District 3. So this is a really important issue for us in this district. The reality is that development is going to happen for a lot of different reasons. However, we have to be smart in how we handle it. We have to focus on the traffic aspect. Are we going to the state and the county officials to figure out how we alleviate that pain for us? Are we going to, for the infrastructure issues, are we going to the state to do the same thing? But let's talk about development in the real sense. It's an economic thing. We want businesses.
30 seconds.
We want residential folks in here. That's the point of development. But my campaign has been focused on the commercial aspect. Let's get new businesses in here. Let's get businesses in Bowie into the town center that lies in District 3. Our campaign is also one of the only campaigns in District 3,
15
unfortunately, that hasn't had a bad record on development, because we want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. I know firsthand what it means to have good businesses. My mom is a business owner here in the city of Bowie, and so we really need to focus on that
Time.
commercial aspect to be successful. Thank you.
1 moment, please. 1 moment.
Excuse me, I missed that. Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you.
I know. I don't know what to say. Okay, I'm sorry. Michael Bird, District 3. So all of the good answers have really already been used. But the biggest thing that I want to bring back to the forefront is every entity on the planet has to evolve in some form or fashion, or it's going to fade away. Development is good. I believe, yes, as my colleague to my right mentioned, we have 13 projects that are on the books right now. The key for us is getting back down to the grassroots issue and getting the citizens involved. What developments fit, the strategic plan of the city and fit the needs and desires of the citizens? We have to interject ourselves earlier in the process at the conceptual plan, vice waiting till after development comes. And if you could, ma'am, if you could please speak up a little bit because I could barely hear you. Is my time up? I'm assuming it is, as everyone's silent.
It is. I'll speak louder. I'm sorry.
Oh, at 15, okay, I'm sorry. So yes, so in essence, for development moving forward, we need to design what I call a go, no-go metrics. We have to design plans and policies to put in place so that developers or any proposals that come before us properly vetted? And what's the impact of that particular proposal development on the citizens of the community? Because I know, as myself and my wife, and we have 2 small children, we moved here because of the viability of the area, as well as the growth for me as a small business owner. Small business, as far as economic development, is the engine to community. Entrepreneurial spirit is the engine to community.
Time.
Okay, thank you. That was much louder. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Dave Grogan, District 3. When I think development, I think congestion. And I think we need to look at this issue a little bit different and just be a little bit honest with ourselves. The challenges that we face when it comes to development is the relationships some of our political candidates or political elected officials have with developers. Let me say for certain, I don't know any developers. I don't have any relationships with the developers. And my position on overdevelopment is I do agree with Councilman Andre Gardner that we appear to be moving toward overdevelopment. So I would be opposed to any overdevelopment, but I would certainly support smart development. There's a need for smart development, but not a need for overdevelopment. I do think that that we need to focus on infrastructure. When I think more houses and more buildings, the first thing I think that we need to focus on the roads, on the construction, and make sure, for an example, 197 and so many other roads are able to support whatever development that we have in mind.
Just a moment. You may begin.
Kevin Motley, representative of District 3, Development. What we have to understand is that we have these master plans that are outdated. And those master plans affect our infrastructure where we'll have development and we can't fix the roads, we can't fix certain things that are supposed to match our development. We have to recognize that there's a lot of uninclusive development where you guys will get the aftermath after county and developers meet. We get to trickle down in the city to find out what's going on afterwards. Thus, we have these situations where we see that we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the means to understand where the tax or where the money is going between the developers and our cities. What I say is with the other overdevelopment is that we have to be more inclusive with what we say and do with our community and with our citizens. We have to understand that the developers do come in, but they normally deal with the county and it then comes to our city.
Yeah, so the only constant in life is change. And so change occurs around us at all times. So we must not just accept and tolerate change, but to be facilitative in that positive change. We see the change that's happening at Whitechapel. We see the change in Upper Marlboro. And what we must do is come together to have all of our voices heard for us to reimagine what we want our city to look like. So a lack of action is in itself taking action. And so we must come together, reimagine what we want our city to look like, and make sure that those voices, those perspectives are incorporated in development that's coming forward. So I voted against new development in the city. I have voted against zoning changes in the city, and I want to continue to do that if elected again for city council. Thank you. Actually, I'll add one more thing. With the reimagining of the city, there's a lot of space that has opportunity for development. And so at Bowie Town Center, there's a developer who's come in and they're reimagining that food court, which was not doing so well. And so they're adding a new space there, restaurant, bar, entertainment, that I think will really revitalize the city. And I think we can take that approach to other areas of the city as well.
Time.
So, Leon Buck again.
Just a moment, please. Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you. Leon Buck again in District 4. So when it comes to development, I think we need to make sure that any future development projects ensure and preserve community living. In District 4, we have 2 pending developments. One is Mill Branch. The other is South Lake. Southlake is bringing 1,360 homes, which includes townhomes, 2 over 2 housing. They have 3 hotels coming, a supermarket.
30 seconds.
But what are we going to do with the children? Where are they going to go to school? That's infrastructure. That's what we need. We need something called thoughtful development, which calls for citizen participation and inclusion. I attended a stakeholders meeting with the Southlake developer and asked a question and raised the question, what about cell tower usage? More people are working from home. Are the cell phones going to cut off? What about schools? Where are the children going to go to schools? We need to make provisions for that.
Good evening again. I'm Helen King, and I know you're tired of hearing me. I am a school administrator. This is year 45 for me. I love to see new neighborhoods. My husband is a realtor. However, I do know that we've got to get schools for every 500 houses or every 1,000 houses. We need to also look at how we're going to obtain those kids in school and make sure that they're in a very nice, clean, pleasant, growing environment. I love kids. I love what I do. Otherwise, I would not continue doing it. Again, I want to see Bowie grow, but I also want to see us get some more schools. Thank you.
You waiting for me, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Hello, everyone. Antonio Lindsay again, District 4 candidate. So this is very simple for me. This is my platform I've been running off of, and I'm going to continue to run off of it. A lot of the constituents I talked to, knocked on doors, they're not for residential building. That's number one. So my platform is to bring in small businesses that's going to boost the economy for the district and also for the city. Small businesses also going to create jobs, as well as boost the property value in people's homes. Not only that, a lot of constituents I talked to, they didn't even want that deal to go through up the street across from Wawa, where District 4 is annexed at. So I feel their pain. City of Bowie is going to be crowded like Waldorf and Laurel. So please, guys, no residential building. We need to preserve what we have in the city of Bowie right now. Your taxes are going to go up if residential building come in, because that's the only way the developers in the city of Bowie would be able to sustain. Thank you.
Thank you. You may begin.
Good evening, everyone. Derrick Mallard again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are overdeveloped. But I think it's time we stop accepting what is given to us and start demanding what we need in the city of Bowie. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't afford to base our economic growth plans on offering tax breaks to businesses that might leave in a couple of years. We should prioritize building a tax base where the money stays in the community for as long as possible.
30 seconds.
We have to start reinvesting in Bowie, ladies and gentlemen. And that starts, like the gentleman just said, we have to start building jobs in community, building jobs that everyone in the community can get a job to work with nice middle-class wages. We have to start investing into the community again, and that's the only way that we will make Bowie grow. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm a little short.
Whenever you're ready, ma'am.
So, Antonio and Leon did a good job talking about the up-and-coming development and all the plans in District 4, but I plan to take a pause on that. We need to conduct a strategic analysis on our transportation infrastructure, our broadband infrastructure, our educational infrastructure, our public safety infrastructure, and we need to use technology to expedite that process and make sure that we're giving you, the citizens, the transparency that you deserve. We also need to take a look at revitalizing economic development. for two reasons simply, because of to preserve and promote the quality of your life, and to also alleviate taxes.
As I stated a little earlier, we need to stop the overdevelopment. All of us know that our infrastructure can't handle the development we have now. Our roads can't handle it. Our schools can't handle it. And when it comes to new development, I think it's time that we give the voice back to the people. We should be deciding what kind of city we want. We should be deciding what kind of new development we want. And with that new development, we have to fight these tax amendments. We can't keep allowing this to go around our voice and end up with just what
30
we have.
seconds.
I think that the last but not least is that we can't keep thinking that we're going to keep building these dense developments to keep our taxes and those things. We need to do economic development. We should be recruiting and bringing in business.
Go ahead.
We should be bringing in new businesses. We should be partnering with the universities locally, with Bowie State and the University of Maryland, and making sure that we create some of those opportunities. Thank you.
We do not control our own destiny. That's the problem with development. It resides with park and planning. Past councils and future councils will continue to make progress, incremental progress for development, for zoning and planning authority, with the ultimate goal being total authority, because we should be setting our own visions. We have an opportunity coming up because very shortly the Bowie Vicinity Master Plan will be updated.
30 seconds.
And I would have the planning staff actually host the charrette and involve the Bowie citizens so we can define and decide what it is we want Bowie to look like. That's the first step in making it more palatable to us. And additionally, I think we need to look at other aspects of development. Where can we help the business community? Where can we help the educational system and all? The educational system is not a city responsibility. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is going to be centered around environment. I have tons of questions on that. So it's a two-part question. How do you plan to make Bowie more sustainable? And the climate crisis around the world, in which Bowie is one of the largest cities in Maryland, how do you plan to address that issue? How do you plan to address the climate crisis in Bowie, as well as how do you plan to make Bowie more sustainable? Let's start with Helen King.
Good evening. I was scribbling again. Once, I would say the environment. Bowie is a very beautiful place. We have a lot of historical things here in our city. I also believe that we have lots of very important things. The University of Bowie State, this school, lots of mansions. We have other very positive things in this environment. So I would think that we would have to come up with some form of advertisement. I know when I moved here in 1988, my husband is a realtor. And when I came, this is where I came, to Bowie High School. If you can remember backwards, if you were around during that time, I couldn't imagine why we were coming to Bowie. What I see now and what I saw then is like night and day.
10 seconds.
I love Bowie. Thank you.
You next.
I'm ready.
Okay, so environment, that's a very good question. For me, I'm real big on environment. From my opinion, I believe we need to continue to make Bowie more greener, just like District of Columbia has done. In the past, I've also advocated for that when I was assisting the mayors. Also, for the environment, we need to come up with some kind of program where we could give residents vouchers that will turn their home and their cars to become electric. So the gas will not get into the air of the environment. So if we can do that as a city, then we can set the standards, we can set the bar high.
10 seconds.
Than any other city around. And that's it. Thank you.
Can you repeat that question once again? I'm sorry, is it on me? Can you repeat the question once again, please? Can you repeat that question once again?
Sure. It's two-part. How do you plan to How do you plan to make Bowie more sustainable? And what will you do with climate crisis centered around the issues in Bowie?
Okay. Well, I guess what I would do for the environment, number one, is invest in the environment, meaning that I see a lot of development coming in, tearing down trees. I don't believe, why can't we create farming? Why can't we grow our own products in Bowie and sell our own greenery in Bowie, whether it be apples, tomatoes, cucumbers? I believe that's a good way to start. Start by going back to what we used to do, start farming. I believe Bowie was a lot of farmland before it was anything else. Also, as far as raising prices, I think everybody's dealing with prices going up, but the way to help, I believe, to help a little bit is just by investing in a little bit different transportation. I know some people would like to save money on gas. Maybe they love to leave their cars parked and have transportation available to take them to metro stations and have that same
10 seconds.
transportation coming back. I think just looking into what we have and just investing more into that. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is such a great topic because when you think about sustainability, you're thinking about the environment and the direction in which we're moving towards when it, as it pertains to kind of like global warming and stuff like that. And it's interesting because in Bowie, we are not currently requiring people like Walmart or Safeway or Giant to source a lot of their products from local farmers. So when you talk about promoting jobs and preserving agriculture and things like that, we're not currently keeping those things in mind. So when we think about these businesses that are looking to expand, like Walmart, why don't we set policies, that require them to source their products locally from our farmers, preserving that agriculture? Then when you look at sustainability and, the climate crisis and global warming, we need to include in this plan having
10 seconds.
Having these electric car, places, because the environment is moving towards that. So why aren't we moving towards that? When you think about development,
Time.
including things like carbon, energy, the things that we're using to develop these properties.
I think one of the things we need to look at is, as we talk about being sustainable and other things, is let's just get some of the basics done. And what I mean by that is let's widen those roads, 301 and 197 and 450. And what I mean about that is imagine how many cars just sit there and all the emissions that are going out. I think as a city, though, we can look at some of the programs we already have. Being out there going knocking door to door, for me in a wheelchair, it was really eye-opening on how the city is not accessible. And so one of the things I would talk about with that is actually, let's look at some of the things that are already put forth. Let's do the complete streets where we can have bike lanes on the street. But more importantly, let's look at the complete trails where we can link the whole city so that it can be accessible for all of us. And all of those things will contribute to us being able to be sustainable, as well as making sure that we play our part in trying to help with climate control.
It's 1 minute to solve the climate crisis, and it's going to be challenging. The city does a good job when it comes to environmental issues, but clearly we can do much better, and actually we need to do much better. The city has many programs that they're doing, and they're taking on new ones. The master trail system, the street plan, are some of them that would help. I would look to extend, to the extent possible, solar power with the city. I know the Encian property, when I left, there was a large solar panel farm going in there, which I understand has been held up here. We need to solve that and look at other opportunities to institute as many green things that we can. I'll have to take note that this is the 27th year that the city was recognized as Tree City USA. And I think that says something to a long history. And so we have a good foundation. We need to be a regional leader when it comes to sustainability and to a green team. Thank you.
I think that the city as a whole needs to improve its green status. I, as if elected as your mayor, and hopefully when elected, will definitely consider driving a hybrid vehicle or taking the public transportation into work during the morning. I will not use the city-owned vehicle unless it's absolutely necessary. However, I do think that in the interim for citizens, I think that we need to focus on getting the transit system reformed, especially WMATA and Metro here in Bowie. I think it's called the Senior Services Bus to
10 seconds.
Help out with the environment.
I try and practice what I preach, so my wife and I have solar panels on our roof. We use a rain barrel to collect and so we can conserve water. And I think those are good things for everybody to do. How do we make the city more sustainable? One, we need to go towards 100% renewable energy. I helped change the state law from 25% to 50%. We should head towards 100%. Two, I agree with my friend Dennis. We should get that solar farm done in Bowie so that city services are based on solar power. Three, we eventually need to move the city vehicle fleet to electric cars. I helped pass the Clean Cars Act in Annapolis to encourage people to do that. How about the climate crisis? We need to have more public education. One, to have community solar. There are great programs to enable people to have solar on their homes. Two, we need to have more of these rain barrels, and we can help people do that. And then finally, we need to all do composting so we limit what goes in the landfill. These are all basic things we could do to contribute to our children's future.
Time.
Emerson DeWitt Ruth.
Just a moment, please.
Environment, air, land, and water, very important. Water especially is important to me because I was part of a water contamination issue by the U.S. government. So I'm very proponent when it comes to water. However, we spoke about overdevelopment. Overdevelopment brings more cars. Obviously, there's more congestion, more air pollution that we have. We can't have these things. Also, more development means less trees, less green, less everything. I mentioned before about mixed-use spaces, making more greener communities, more walkable communities, more workable communities. But first and foremost, 60,000 residents in Bowie, 48,000 strong when it comes to voting. I mentioned before, we need more advocacy when it comes to our county level, when it comes to our state level, and also comes to our national level. Together, at 40,000, they're going to hear our voice, and we can have all we want when it comes to sustaining all the things that we need, air, land, and water, and also make our neighbors cooperate with us.
10 seconds.
Babatunde Alegbeleye, because I didn't mention my name before. Sorry about that. Talking about our city has done very well in terms of what if you go to the city hall, you will see the improvement in terms of, going into saving water and all those little things that a smart city is supposed to have. So we are moving there. We are not there yet. One of the other things is to have a sustainable environment, just like what my partner here said. When you travel in the morning, you see all those cars, what is coming out of them. So maybe we need to think of having intra-city transportation, which will help to cut down. Because my children, they want to go somewhere, everybody get into the car, boom, boom, gone. You can easily
10
hop
seconds.
and move around. And also, the climate that we're talking about, it is true to support
Time.
what is the city is growing. So,
Thank you again, Henri Gardner, at-large council member. I wanted to speak to environment as your question spoke, and I wanted to talk to Councilmember Brady. Mentioned the Ensign project as to where we have solar farm being constructed and power generated by the solar farm and then sold back to the grid. I like to expound upon that. The city of Bowie has multiple parcels of land throughout the city in its inventory. We should look at some of those parcels and develop more of those areas for solar farms, and then yet selling that power back to the grid, and then working with our local power company, BG&E, to provide credits, energy credits, to families here in Bowie who are in need, to provide energy credits and giving them credits on their monthly bills. This power being generated is going someplace.
10 seconds.
All residents in the city of Bowie should enjoy those benefits that are coming. Not just that, BG&E offers a senior program for our residents to where they go out. I want to encourage the continuation of that energy audit as well. Thank you.
Ingrid Harrison, at-large candidate. I support that. I suggest and support that we continue working with our wonderful green team in the city and our environmental advisory committee and keep on track with the current plan that they have put together. In addition, I'd like to see that we increase, have some additional bus transportation or public transportation so we can have less cars on the road, increase the bike lanes, keep the current green space, look and talk to residents about increasing green space if that's what we want, continue to promote the solar energy and any renewable energy we can use, green schools, community gardens, and educating the residents on what we can all do to help with our environment. Thank you.
Okay, the environment is a very important issue. You could see the flooding in Annapolis and Alexandria this past weekend. That's just the start of problems to come, and it all starts with us solving that problem in our backyard, in our community. I'm currently on the Green Team, and I'm also currently working with the Environmental Advisory Committee on developing a 5-year action plan for greenhouse gas reduction, and I'd like to support that if I was on the council. That includes being ready for EV electric vehicle installation at shopping centers and on the city properties, as well as solar panels on these properties, as well as expanding the county's composting program. And then another focus on enhancing transit, walkability, and bikeability through the implementation of the Complete Streets policy and the Trails Master Plan, 2 new things that the city adopted largely because of a group that I started.
10 seconds.
I'd also like to see a green burden tax, or call it a tax, environmental surplus tax on development, and much more. But I can't.
Wallace Dev, councilman from District 1. So the city has 2 fantastically organized groups, the Environmental Advisory Committee and the Green Team, which Dustin mentioned, which have been looking at exactly this issue. I've worked with them very closely in the last couple of years, and we actually had a meeting with city staff not long ago where we looked at what are basically the carbon footprint of the city and what can be done to improve it. We found that the city's vehicle fleet was actually the biggest area where we could make a difference. Trash trucks, recycling vehicles, code enforcement, police officer vehicles. And so my colleague Dufour Wolfley and I, in our last budget cycle, based on that information, asked city staff to begin looking at the cost of slowly replacing the city's vehicle fleet to hybrid and electric vehicles over the course of time. The good news is we have an equipment acquisition replacement fund, so we actually have an exact expiration date on every single vehicle in the city, and every year we put money towards a fund to plan on purchasing a new vehicle to replace the old one. So we have it in our power to be able to plan very specifically for how we could replace our city fleet over time with electric and hybrid vehicles, and that would be the biggest difference we can make.
I want to thank whoever asked this question because I think this is a really important topic that we're dealing with on a large scale and a local scale here right now. One of the things that I think we are blessed to live in the city of Bowie because we have an amazing recycling process going on here. We have compost bins that you can go pick up at the city hall for $25. We have all of these options, but I feel like there has to be a way to educate people a bit more on how we can use them. And another thing is we should be finding some way to get some type of credit for if you're going to be using solar panels. We should be looking into getting solar panel fields so that we can be bringing all of this energy back into our economy. And it's also extremely, extremely important that we move forward with these complete streets and all of the plans that the Green Team and everybody's been putting together. We really do have such a great foundation here, and all we have to do is continue building on it, and I think it'll make a great difference.
Bowie is, in fact, really quite a green city when you consider it. I've been blessed to be able to participate in a whole bunch of things that we've done in this area, including everything from trails, community gardens, composting programs, solar fields for the city, a green team, an environmental advisory committee group, public transit support, bike paths, livable, walkable communities programs, recycling programs, city tree programs, Bowie Green Expo. This is really a community that is working in the right direction in this area. And we pursue these not just because they're green and green must be good, but because they actually deliver an improvement to our quality of life. And they also, in most cases, end up saving us some money. So it's a great program.
10 seconds.
And it's good to be a part of a city that sees it as important.
This is a really important issue for me. I'll tell you about what I've done and what we can do in the city of Bowie. In 2016, I was the lead on a $986 million divestment from the University System of Maryland, the largest fossil fuel divestment in the country's history. In 2017, I was the co-lead on a bill in the Congress of the United States that focused on Yucca Mountain and the waste management system there that got out of the Natural Resources Committee. But let's talk about what we can do in Bowie. First thing is, how do we allow developers to environmentally build? Let's give them some new standards both on the county level, and let's work with our state folks to make sure that happens. The second thing is, let's enact the Green Team's policy. That can happen on day one. That's a simple solution that we can do, and the good work that you guys have done. The third thing is, just as Tim said, we need to make this city more connected. Let's build out more bike lanes, and let's make sure our city is more connected. The fourth thing, and as we have this conversation about Pimlico and Racetrack Road, we should make more green space in this city. That can also happen on day one as well. And the fourth thing is we should invest. We need to promote green spaces. We need to promote the environment and sustainability in our communities.
Michael Bird, District 3. This is a very important question. Thank you very much for the question from the audience. I had the advantage and the honor to sit on the Imagine Bowie as a facilitator and a contributor back in 2016, in which we wrote the first City of Bowie sustainability plan. Sustainability is more than renewable energy or alternative energy. Sustainability is, I call it a three-pronged attack. Social, equity, environmental, as well as the people. It's a triangle that has to work in concert with one another. People being obviously the centerpiece of that. Education is key. Sustainability is more than just, like I said. So education at the lower level, education of the populace to learn about all these renewable energy sources, legislation, mandating the city representatives to go ahead and incorporate certain ideas and aspects into our common practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. Just to sort of follow up here, Dave Grogan, District 3. I agree with you. This is an education issue. As a wellness professional and a member of the Sierra Club, my campaign is centered around education. And what my goal and my objective would be is to educate more people on organizations like the Sierra Club and recruit. Because when I'm your city council member, what we need and what I will need is more people champion these issues. The only way we can get things done through is if we have the support from you all. What I have noticed is that not enough people are aware of the climate issues. In fact, I didn't realize that we were in a climate crisis. Now that I realize that you can trust and believe anything that supports wellness, anything that supports air pollution, there's a direct correlation between overdevelopment and climate, environment, because of the pollution from the vehicle, pollution from the cars. Thank you.
Kevin Motley, District 3. What I say about sustainability is the fact that we have a team in Bowie, the Green Team. And as we look around the city of Bowie, we look at the trees, we look at everything that's actually in play right now. I would say, and I would push behind getting more people involved, as the two candidates said, as far as information and getting people educated on what the Green Team does in Bowie as well. To understand that they do a great work with minimal resources. You see that we do have a green Bowie, but the reality is we are cornered by 301 and 50. And we have a lot of pollution that travels constantly through our cities. And this stuff travels. So what we have to understand, we have to go to a state level and talk with them about HOV lanes.
10 seconds.
More accessibility to actual getting people to travel and use these ride-alongs.
Hi, Darian San Carter, District 3. So everything that we do impacts the environment, and the environment impacts everything that we do as well. So we have the Green Team and the Environmental Advisory Committee, and they do phenomenal work, and they have recommendations year after year of how we can improve our city. And so I think what we can do moving forward is have intentionality about how we can incorporate that into every aspect of what the city does. On a personal level, I run on the trails. That's part of what brought me to Bowie. So I'm on these trails 3 times a week. So the Master Trails Plan and the Safe Streets is going to help to reduce our carbon footprint and help with walkability. I compost at home, I recycle at home, and we've piloted these programs so we can expand the programs from being piloted to be a citywide initiative. There are environmental savings, and there's also economic savings for us to do so. One of the really exciting things that happened recently was Community Outreach Committee. One of the grant recipients is going to have a community garden at a local elementary school. And so that's going to be organized and managed by the students, and that's a way to address this as well.
Leon Buck, District 4. One of the things when we talk about preserving our city, preserving our nation, and preserving the planet is sustainability. I think we need to continue to encourage that people recycle at home. I think we need to get less fossil fuels off our roads. And more importantly, there was the mention of the solar panels. I think we do need to encourage that with our Green Team in Bowie. But my home has the ecobee technology where you can program your heat and air by your phone and even your Apple Watch. That only saves energy, but it does preserve the city and the planet in which we live. More importantly, no one's talked about education in our schools. Children don't know how to save and conserve energy, and I think we need to start there. Thank you.
Okay, the next question has to do with budget and finance. In summary of all the questions asked, the question is, what do you plan to do in your first 6 months in office? What are the 5 main areas inside of the budget that you plan to make your top priorities? You have a budget. What are the 5 top items you plan to make your priority in the budget? Let's start with Ingrid.
So, in regard to the budget, in addition to listening to the residents, In addition to listening to the residents, my plan is to speak with our city and county officials to determine their rationale for any new projects and its adherence to our master plan and impact to the city overall. My top 5 initiatives would be committed to control growth with heavier consideration on infrastructure and cost first, determine ways to increase our commercial tax base so the tax base grows larger to lessen the impact to individual tax burden, review the budget and work with agencies to determine needs and take any corrective action, and increased community involvement, more town hall style meetings to get input from the residents prior to decisions being made. Also look at our public safety and our police department.
10 seconds.
And look for any overtime or and any staffing that issues that we can make corrective action to. Thank you.
Dustin?
Okay. So 5, all right. So number 1, I think that we need to spend a lot of time looking at grants. Right now our city only brings in less than about 0.5% of our annual budget, annual income is through grants. We're a big city, we have a lot of assets, we can utilize that, we can bring in much, much more money, millions of dollars more. Another one is other intergovernmental revenues, that's working with partnerships to bring in revenue as well. Next, we have a declining business tax base. 7.4% of our property, the business property values, it's gone down by 7.4% this year. We need to focus on increasing that. We're a growing city, that should be growing as well. As we move into that was 3, I didn't have the 5, so I'm gonna have to go off the top of my head. All right, so I think we also need to work
10 seconds.
All right, so, there's also our budget, the levels, the values of our business properties are the same as they were in 2010.
Wallace Dev, Councilman District 1. So the city has a $59 million annual budget, and the top 5 things that we do currently fund are in order of how big they are: public works, public safety, community services, admin, and then IT and other things. So that's basically what we're doing now. When I talk to residents about what their priorities are, they basically list those priorities in that order. Public works and public safety are the 2 biggest things that residents tend to care about, and those are the 2 main core services that residents, by and large, tell us that they want to see us continue to focus on and deliver efficiently and expertly. The challenge we have moving forward is that the city for some time now has been facing a persistent $2 million annual budget shortfall. We have reserve money that we've been using to help cover that shortfall, but this is going to be issue number 1 that the new council faces. Compounding that is the fact that the past city council voted this year 5-2, 2-4, and I voted no, to build a $24 million 2-sheet ice arena. That doesn't include the interest on the debt. The debt service is expected to be about $1 million a year for 30 years paying that off. So we're going to have to add that to the budget shortfalls we're facing, and that's going to be challenge number 1. We're going to have to make some very difficult decisions.
We have a lot of issues that we need to address when it comes to the budget. One of the first ones that I think can be most beneficial to us is getting our feet wet and getting these new businesses in so that we can have more money coming in. Right now, the businesses in Bowie are 18% of the tax base, and it's important that we keep that growing so that it doesn't hurt our pockets on our property taxes. The next thing that's really important is making sure that our police department is having the funding that they need. If they need any extra amenities, any extra staffing, it's super important that they're able to protect us in the way that they need to, and they can only do that if they have the money that they need to. We also need to make sure that we are talking with the county and figuring out schooling needs. I went over to Bowie High School a couple weeks ago and talked to some of the students, and there's cockroaches in the basement, there's ceiling tiles falling out, and it's super important that we're thinking about them too. They don't necessarily have a vote, but all of our children need to be safe in their school environments.
I won't try, this is before Wolfie. 2, there we go. I won't try and go through 5, but I will highlight 2 items. The first is taxes. Councilman Estev highlighted the issue that we have there, and it's going to be a tough. We get to the budget process. The other item relates to development and the budget. It's often offered up as a cure-all that will generate additional revenues from the development. Well, I got news for you. If you're using the tax revenues from the development, that means you're not paying your current bills. That basically amounts to a Ponzi scheme where you're using the taxes from some purported new development to support the expenses of existing needs. So we need to kind of get straight on that program. Thank you.
Let me start by saying, as a member of the City Council, it's really important that our fiduciary responsibilities is focused on ensuring that we are using the budget correctly. So a couple things. Number one, on District 3 infrastructure, especially on water, is a District 1 and District 2 issue, and if we can use public works in some way, that's going to be really helpful to us. Number two is community services, through the Community Services Department, increasing senior programs and how we can make that more attractive for folks who are going to Anne Arundel to stay here in the city. The third thing is aging and redeveloping shopping centers and how we can use that, but also using some of our budget money to incentivize folks to come in here so we can increase that tax base and expand the money that we really have in the budget. But overall, we have to do this in a way while we're figuring out how not to increase city taxes, because that's the number one thing that's the most important to all of us in this room. How do we do that in a fiduciary way that doesn't increase city taxes? So if elected, you can best believe that's going to be one of my key priorities. Thank you. Again, Adrienne Waffle, District 3.
Michael Bird, District 3. My top 5, if elected to City Council. Number 1, do a departmental bottom-up analysis of each department's budget to find any over expenditures and or excess money. Number 2, do an analysis of our tax assessments versus our property valuation. Obviously, our property taxes increase as our valuation of our property increases as well. Number 3, doing the budgeting forecast to utilize actual historical data from the past, vice using future assumptions during our budgetary planning process, during the workshops. Number 4, obviously, to align our financial needs with the requirements of the city. And number 5, to better announce the budgeting workshop so everyone can take part in the process and understand the process, having better buy-in. Thank you.
Dave Grogan, District 3. My top 5 priorities of the budget, which I will review, would be 1, the education budget. I sat 2 terms on the city's education committee, and one thing for certain, I'm sure we needed an increase in our budget for the City of Bowie Education Committee. The second one would be public safety. I'll take a look at the budget for public safety. I'm a 25-year law enforcement person, and I do think that we need to take a look at whether we need more police officers in the City of Bowie. So I would take a strong look at that budget. The next would be the public works. Public works, I'm a little concerned about the trash collection. I'm big into beautification and making sure that we keep our city beautiful. So public works is one that I would take a look at. And then 5th, the balanced budget.
10 seconds.
Balanced budget and ensuring that we are not continuing to use the surplus to support the budget.
Kevin Motley, District 3. My first priority would be public safety. We see that our police, we have a budget that is overextended, and we don't have enough officers on the force. What we have to recognize is we have to work on our taxes in order for us to get these officers for our public safety. Secondly, it is retention of our businesses as far as taxes, allowing these businesses to have certain breaks that are small businesses, that are mom and pop businesses that come to our city, and understanding that the big businesses that are along 301, they have massive tax payouts, but we do not give our mom and pops a break on their businesses so that we can have retention within Bowie Town Center and the surrounding areas. Thirdly, work on actually infrastructure, really understanding that we have so many things that we have to open and widen. So we have to work on grants and getting grants from the city and getting grants from the county and from the state as well.
Darian San Carter, District 3. I think first would be collaboration, and so prior to the budget sessions, to work with the committees. So we have over 400 staff members work for the city, to work with the departments for vision alignment, to strategize and set priorities, to work with the committees who do phenomenal work for that alignment as well, and to include our residents in every part of that. The second would be transparency in our residential tax rate, and so we haven't raised our tax rate in 10 years, but I hear from residents that what they pay increases each year. So transparency in that, and how can we better manage the income that comes from that. A third would be police, and so the police operate under a third of our budget. I'm supportive of law enforcement. I teach law enforcement with the Maryland State Corrections System, and there's opportunity for us to take a look at that. So to ensure that we have sustainability planning for our police department. Education, we can work with the county, but we can also support what's happening in the city through education.
Time.
And I would say final would be community outreach. Better ways to engage all residents. There are a number of you here, but there are more that couldn't make it today.
You ready?
Yes.
I have some different ideas that I'd like to incorporate into my answer. One, as a longtime baseball and basketball coach and someone who started a baseball travel club in Bowie, sometimes the fields and the courts are not adequate, and so we definitely need to maybe increase our recreation budget. I know there's a proposed $5 million facility for courts, but I think that needs to be increased because the current proposal, which includes one high school court and 2 middle school courts, barely is enough for an AAU tournament, which does bring more revenue to the city. 2 is Public Works and Church Road. Church Road is a mess. It's dangerous. You have these blind S-curves and these curves and these hills that need to be eliminated. Somehow we need to incorporate that into a budget. The public safety, other people have mentioned police officers. I think we need an additional community service officer. Why? Because we certainly have an epidemic in the city of Bowie. What is it? It's the vapor. It's the vape, weed, and marijuana smoking. We need to sort of incorporate that into our city's budget to change that course.
Good evening again. My name is Helen King, and I am in District 4 also. I believe that we should have more police officers. As you heard me say before, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. I've been here for 33 years, and I really, really would love to see police officers in each of our districts. District 1, 2, 3, and 4. We should have stations in those neighborhoods, in my opinion. I also believe that we need to look at grants and other opportunities that are available to cities. There are a lot of things that we could do, not just from an educational perspective, but other things we can do for our city in terms of environmental issues and many other opportunities. I also believe that we should try, and I say we, should get businesses to come into Bowie the best we can, and also try to get them to adopt various schools and or neighborhoods. What did I write here? More monitoring is needed in grades K through 12 as it relates to things that we can do. We have a whole, I'm going to say, bunch of schools. We have 150 elementary schools. Some of those schools have such small environments, and that's not just here in Bowie, that's period. And some of those schools could be combined, and we could do more things with various other schools if we are able to maybe close some of those schools and make them one, as opposed to 10 schools in a particular neighborhood where you have a small population. I'm not lying. Some of those schools have very, very small populations.
Antonio Lindsay once again. So for me, it's very simple. Looking at the budget to see where we can cut costs for the city, where we can save, where money should go. And in my opinion, it needs to go towards small businesses and also the residents in the city of Bowie. Why? Is because they're paying the most taxes. If you take a look at the businesses currently right now, they're leaving outside of the city of Bowie, especially at Bowie Town Center. They're going to Wall Chapel. So looking at the budget it's a simple idea. Public safety, that's what majority of the budget money is going to anyway. Public works, that's where it's going to as well. Crime is not high in Bowie, not at all.
10 seconds.
So to have more police officers, I think that's a slap in the face. I'm a law enforcement officer myself, and I live inside the city of Bowie. So we don't need to put more money inside public safety. We need to take money out of public safety and see where we can put it elsewhere. And we also need to reduce the taxes for residents and also businesses. Thank you.
Derrick Mallard, District 4. I'll try to keep this as quickly as possible. Number one, review the budget. That's what we have to do, review. See most of where our spending is going and what we can do to work with the city and the state to cut costs on what we may need to. We should look more into investing more, etc. Schools and community. Create more jobs. Create more jobs for the citizens of Bowie. Stop development that raises taxes. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Roxy here. So in the first 60 days, what would I do? I would look at balancing the budget. That's number one. I would want to understand what are we focusing on, and based off of what we're focusing on, are we directing the right allocations in those areas? So the 5 things that I'd focus on, number 1 is grants. Everyone already touched on grants, so I won't go deeply in there. Then number 2 is looking at partnerships. A lot of cities, and when you think of smart cities, have partnerships with different people that are advancing their cities forward. Number 3 is economic development, of course, as everyone already mentioned, streamlining the permit process to make it more attractable for small businesses. Number 4, education. There's no reason why students should be going without eating lunch because they can't afford it. So obviously we should look at allocating some budget there. And then also, a couple other people talked on services for children. When you think about, sports and things like that, why aren't we looking at incubators to support the curriculum? There's no reason why the next CEO shouldn't be coming out of Bowie. Number 5 is infrastructure. And honestly, when you look at the law enforcement, we don't need to spend more money on that. There are technology companies that will provide that funding for societal impact and corporate responsibility. So we don't need to allocate anything else there. Thank you.
The first thing I would do is sit down and talk with the city manager. I need to understand what issues are behind the budget, and there may be some concerns there. Along with that, I would then just go through the budget and make sure I understand just what the costs are, what the expenses, and what we're looking at. I then meet with our police department, with our public safety officials, because that is so tantamount to keeping Bowie the place we love. I then meet with Public Works, because we have to make sure we maintain these services that we have that we all appreciate. I also want to make sure that we checked with ordinance enforcement, because out on the trail I've heard a lot of people concerned about that. And I want to talk about that. And then last but not least, we immediately want to talk about economic development and see what plan we have for that. I'd like to make sure that we meet with the county exec, the county council, but also with Maryland Park and Planning, and really get a look at how we can enhance the funding and the support for Bowie.
Everything in 1 minute. I would look to look at, are there available efficiencies that we could do with regards to how the city operates? And that's going to be more and more important as we move forward, especially if we can take advantage of technology. A couple of things I would look to. I'd look to make sure the planning department is well staffed and ready to go, because I do believe that if we want to control what Bowie will look like, we need to be a strong participant in a charrette with regards to the Bowie master plan. We need to improve our environmental stewardship. I'd look to accelerate the conversion of our fleet to electric vehicles, reduce our carbon footprint, and maximize solar collection. If we can improve the solar collection, we can add a revenue stream coming in. I look to establish a liaison with the schools. The schools are not our responsibility,
but we have an opportunity where we can coordinate our activities and help them when it comes to their needs and issues, and what have you, but also to have environmental stewardship. Thank you.
Keith Jackson, running for mayor. The issues before us continue to be balancing fiscal responsibility with sound judgment. I think that the city is on the right path. We have our bills paid. We've got money in the bank. I think that the best option for us is to effectively focus on getting the budget balanced and starting things like an auxiliary police force to relieve some of the tax burden on our tax dollars by using volunteers. I think that unpaid staff are a great option to help the budget within the city, as we have committee chair people and committee members subsequently, which help vastly in the committees, help to relieve some of our cabinet
10
chairs
seconds.
and heads.
My wife will tell you I'm very tight with our money, and I'll be very same way with your money as well. So here goes. 1, don't increase taxes. 2, beef up the police department. 3, increase code enforcement. 4, review all city functions and see if there's some things we just shouldn't be in the business of doing anymore. And 5, performance audits for all departments to see where we can find some savings.
Emerson Ruth. We've been fortunate here in Bowie. We haven't had a tax raise for the city in over 10 years. The city's doing a good job. We need to look at our income resources. As I stated before, 58% of the budget comes from real property tax. We need to figure out what our outlays are. A quarter of the budget goes to the police department. Another quarter goes to public services. We also need to figure out what services is generating revenue. Which entity is generating revenue, and we need to maximize that. Also, how can we save? Again, what works, what does not. So again, we should measure what matters, and we need to build on our strengths.
Thank you. Babatunde Alegbeleye. Just as Ruth said, when you have $1 and 25 cents of your dollar goes to something, you need to look at what you really spend that 25 cents on. Our police department takes a quarter of our budget. We need to look into that. Yes. I just finished Session 6 Community Citizens Police Academy, and I learned a lot of stuff. And I could communicate that with you on a different level. Second thing, we need to get facts. When I'm elected, we're going to get data, the real data about what is really going on within the budget and how can we, because we need to get more grants. If you don't want to continuously look for ways to
10 seconds.
overtax your, tax burden on your residents, you need to figure a way to get grants from the state, national. That's what I'm going to do when it comes to that police department.
Time.
We're going to find a better way. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Honorary Gardner, council member at large. A lot of people, thank you. Yes, a lot of people tonight here, we're talking about the budget, but what we have neglected to realize is that the city of Bowie is sound. We have all of our bills are paid and we have a AAA bond rating. But there are some areas to where one of the candidates for mayor, Mr. Lucci, mentioned that we could possibly take a look at our overall budget and look to where we may be spending or in projects or programs that we should not be providing services to, because both the county and the state provides them as well. So we may be duplicating efforts. I do wish to spend more time in our taxes where we do not raise taxes. We look at methods to growing our tax base. Public safety, our police department is
10
important.
seconds.
As our population grows, so should our police department. So, and also we need to look at recreational programs as we have a new ice arena coming on and a new basketball court. We may look at private companies to come and maybe put branding names on those sites, and then we share in revenue and look at other methods. We need to create more public-private partnerships to absorb some of the costs of the city. Thank you.
Okay, Seems like I've lost half of the audience. I guess it's me. You're tired of listening to me talk. So we're going to do our closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute to summarize what he or she would like to say to you towards the end as you leave for the night. And I'll start with Mr. Adams.
I was fortunate 25 years ago to meet the love of my life, married her, and moved here, moved my business here. Over the course of that time, I've built one of the largest defense contracting firms in the nation, operating out of 16 states and around the world. The reason I say that is I've been vetted for integrity from the national, state, and local level. I will be able to bring with me from my experiences best practices that we can use within the city. I love the city of Bowie. I want to make sure that we keep it a place that we want to be. I want to make sure we keep it friendly. And again, I really feel so very strongly about not overdeveloping the city and watching out and protecting ourselves from these dense developments. It's time that the people, that we got our voices back and could tell the city what we want as opposed to being told by the city what we want. Thank you so very much, and thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you. Again, my name is Dennis Brady. I'm running for mayor. As you know, I've got 22 years experience, so I'm very familiar with it. And there's a quote that many employers are quite familiar with, and it says, "Past experience is an excellent indicator of future performance." So I hope you keep that in mind. And I've got a 22-year record where you can see how I voted on development issues, on the budgets, what I supported, what I opposed. I have the track record, so you know where I will start come the new term, the new council. So again, I ask for your support on November 5th. I thank you for coming out. I thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Hello, voters of Bowie. My name is Keith Jackson. I'm running for mayor, and I pledge to bring community and government experience, sound judgment, and know-how to office. During my tenure as a federal government employee, committee participant, and former active police explorer in my youth, I gained an understanding of government. And I think that I bring also to the table a Prince George's County Civic Federation director, which is equivalent to a county councilman. I serve at large across the county, and I hold incumbency. And I hope to be your mayor to bring mission-focused, timely, relevant leadership to you.
Thank you all for coming out here this evening and your patience of staying down here still a couple hours later. And my hat's off to you. If you elect me, I promise a few things. One is we need to get our own land use power. We are the largest city in the state of Maryland that can't make our own land use decisions. So we talk about moratoriums and things like this. The decisions are made at the county. 10 of the 11 members don't live in Bowie. We need to get the powers to ourselves. 2, we need to stop double taxation. We have a great parks and rec system, but we're the largest city in the county that pays the county park tax as well as paying our own. We got to stop that. 3, we need to redevelop Old Bowie. Let's make it a walkable town with nice crosswalks and street lights and sidewalks and a place where people want to go. And 4, we need to have closer ties with Bowie State University.
10 seconds.
We need to be a campus town. We need to have let them come to our senior center and teach classes to our seniors. Let's have internships at Bowie State. Let's have transportation back and forth. We need to be closer for that. I'm uniquely qualified to get that done. Want this? Yes, I do. Okay.
Good evening, and thanks again. Emerson DeWitt Ruth, I would like to be your next mayor. Yes, I mentioned before, we should measure what matters and build on our strengths. Bowie's been great. We have a lot of upswing going on in this town. I've been here for 15 years. I have 5 children, married 30 years, and I have a 90-year-old mother that also lives here too. I'm committed to this community. I'm a professional law enforcement officer out of the city of Los Angeles. One thing I am positive about is how our city functions, how the current city is working, and how we need to continue going on where it's going right now. with my public administration experience and also my education experience, one thing I do know is that we don't have local control. We don't have major decisions on our land use, our zoning, and most of our major building. We have to engage our city council more. We have to engage our county council, our school board council, our governor, and also our national things. This is one thing we have to do as a city. I told you 43,000 of voting strong. Together, we can make things happen. Thank you. I'm Emerson Ruth.
Babatunde Alegbele again, asking for your vote. I'm not shy to say I'm the most successful, unsuccessful candidate. This is my 7th time coming in front of you so you can elect me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to work on academically challenging and high-performing schools at all levels of education, diverse professional and multicultural businesses and employment opportunities within the city. You hear, city, we are the most diverse. It should reflect. Transform Old Town Bowie to serve the local community better. Stronger ties with the Bowie State University. I will curb wasteful spending. I will work to stop overdevelopment. I will increase access to leadership and democratic spaces for all residents, including naturalized Americans, which so-called immigrants. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for having this forum this evening, and I thank all the residents from the City of Bowie for coming out this evening. And I wanted to say this. I've had your vote for a number of terms, and I hope to have it again. And I've used this platform as your at-large council member to help a number of people throughout the city, a number of different programs. And I want to just go down the list in these. The citywide job fair, which was a creation of mine, Councilmember Henri Gardner. That job fair has resulted in hundreds of Bowie residents working from Comcast to Verizon. The Bowie Get Fit, which is an athletic program that I initiated, hundreds of pounds have been lost as a result of the Bowie Get Fit program. The College Fair program, I have 18 young people that have been enrolled in Bowie State that I personally drove to Bowie State, got them enrolled, got them financial assistance, and now today we have both seniors and juniors there. Our housing program, our youth services program, and a summer job program that I have gotten 28 young people on the average each summer jobs. I hope that you will continue to let me work on your behalf and continue to expand upon this platform. Thank you.
If I'm elected, I plan to work with my colleagues, the city manager, city agencies, city committees, community leaders, and most importantly, you, the residents, to ensure we are working and fighting on your behalf. I'm counting on you to keep your elected officials accountable. If I'm elected, I would host town hall meetings and or listening sessions in each district to hear from you so we can work together to do what's in the best interest of the city. The goal is to bring all stakeholders together to make informed decisions. The bottom line is I will stay out in the community at the grassroots level, listening to your concerns and keeping you informed. I, Ingrid Harrison, ask for your vote on November 5th to represent you on the Bowie City Council as your council member at large. And as I've said before, the best man for this job is this woman.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters. Thank you all for coming out and taking your time tonight, and thank all the candidates as well for putting in time and effort in this race. I think if you want to take one thing away from me, I'd like you to think of me as a technical candidate, someone that has skills, education, and experience to build desirable communities. But more importantly, I've been dedicated to the city of Bowie. I've been putting in time and energy to develop plans, push projects forwards, and work with the community to make the place better. And I've done that with no pay, no title, and no any official thing at all. And I'd like to have that opportunity to serve in that official capacity, and it's up to you to allow me to do that. I promise to be accessible, transparent, and accountable, and connect and communicate with residents to develop a vision for growth that does not rely on new development, but focuses on existing assets. I promise to build a city that is unique, vibrant, celebrates culture and diversity, has a strong sense of community, a community we can all be proud of.
All right, so the next city council is going to have some difficult decisions to face on a number of fronts. But our most important task in facing these issues is listening to residents and grounding our policies around their preferences, not those of developers or special interests. I'm very proud of the fact that to date, I've raised 90% of my campaign contributions directly from constituents. I'm very grateful for their support. The remaining 10% has come from family, and I'm excited that when this campaign is over, they'll stop avoiding me at family reunions. We don't have a lot of time to talk about issues in depth, but for those of you who know me and have worked with me, you know that at the end of the week, my inbox is at 0. I answer every email, I return every call. I'm always happy to get together one-on-one. We don't have personal staff or an office budget, so my city office is the coffee shop closest to you. You can email me, you can call me, you can reach out to me at michaelisdev.com. Always happy to get together and talk about all these issues and more one-on-one.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Abby Schneider, running for the District 1 City Council seat. I just want to thank you all for coming out here tonight. We are all in this room because we love Bowie. All of us sitting up here, all of you sitting down there. And I've never been someone who sits idly by when there's something going on. I've always been up there voicing my opinions. And so when there was an opportunity to bring a new opinion and a new voice to the City Council in the District 1 seat, I had to jump on the opportunity. There are so many things that this city can benefit from. There are so many things that we need to worry about to strengthen our community now so that it can grow forward in the future. And I'm really looking forward to working with all of you, and I humbly ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
I'd like to. That's right. There we go. I'd like to thank you all for being here this evening. I'd like to thank the League for hosting. Very much appreciate it. And thank all the candidates here this evening. It's great to have everybody out for a good conversation. Bowie is a fantastic city. All you got to do is ask our residents when you go door knocking. And if you don't believe them, you can look up all the stats and the stories and the rankings. It's been made so by an active and engaged citizenry. And I encourage everybody here to continue with that trend. It started with Huntington so many years ago, spread on to the pioneers of Levitt, Bowie, and it continues today in the new communities that are blossoming along the way. So I encourage everybody to go out, take a look at these candidates, and if you need me for anything, I'll be at the back in the foyer. Thank you very much.
Let me start by saying it's a tremendous honor to be here as a lifelong resident of the city. So you've heard many debates, months of campaigning, and way too many of us actually knocking on your door. I apologize in advance. But now you have 21 days to make a choice. And I have a different vision for Bowie. I want to build on our strength by finding ways to make the town center better, by working with state and local officials to address issues in education, major traffic infrastructure issues, and increasing property values, by having a plan to increase the commercial tax base and protect the most vulnerable in our communities, such as seniors. And if I have the privilege to serve on the City Council in District 3, I will always listen to your voices, fight for your families, and work every day to ensure that Bowie continues to be the greatest city in Prince George's County. But let me say, as a lifelong resident, what I'm really proud of is that on this stage today, there are 22 candidates, the most in history, vying for a city council seat, and that should be celebrated at the end of this campaign. Thank you, guys.
I'd like to first start by saying thank you very much to the League, and thank you to everyone that's here tonight. I want to leave with one thing, passion. I have a passion for Bowie. Myself and my wife have settled here. We want to stay here. We planted our roots here. Our children know nothing but Bowie. They were born here. Hopefully they will matriculate through the educational system, come back one day, and settle here as well. I believe that experience does matter. Experience does matter. Understanding how Bowie operates, understanding what drives Bowie, understanding the needs, and being able to collaborate and talk to folks and build upon unity, build upon community.
10 seconds.
One thing that I will say, no one is going to out-hustle me. I will work hard continuously. I've done it in the past with all my numerous activities as well as going into the future. Thank you very much for your time. I humbly ask for your vote November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, League of Women Voters. David Grogan, District 3. I know we only have a minute, so I'll speak fast. Every 3 to 5 years, we hear a lot of well-prepared stump speeches, and the end result generally is not consistent with what we hear. What I challenge you all to do as a candidate that's running on a platform of education, my candidacy is all about education. I challenge you all to not only research me, DaveGrogan.com, but research all of these candidates. Look at their backgrounds. Look at their history. Just like Mr. Adams said, I've been vetted. I spent 25 years with the Department of Justice holding a top secret clearance. I've done background investigations. I've adjudicated background investigations. And I know the key right now is to not get caught up in too many stump speeches without doing your homework. I challenge you to do your homework. Some of you all know I speak openly. Some of you I've never met, but I've only spoken to you on social media. I'll stay transparent. I'll give you that. I promise you I'll always stay transparent. I can be reached at DaveGrogan.com. I ask for your vote, and I thank you again for coming out tonight.
Kevin Motley, District 3. I see that 15 minutes cannot give you who I am. Being in this forum was great, and I thank you, League of Women Voters, for allowing us to be here. But understand that the passion is the people of Bowie. To understand that we have to stay a community. The community value of Bowie matters. The reason why we moved here and we planted our seeds here are why we need to work hard together as a community. We need to get together and make these legislation things work. We the people, not just Kevin Motley, not just the candidates, but us as a community, as we sit before the council, we have to make decisions. We have to make them understand that we mean business, that we have an opportunity to make things happen as a community. Not just sitting back and wondering what's happening next, but being inclusive is what I would try to get across to you guys, to make you guys know that information is out there to make Bowie what it is, a great city, a great place to live, and a great place to build your life. I want to retire here in 8 years, and understand this, living amongst you guys is a great thing. Thank you.
All right, Darian San Carter, District 3. I want to thank the League again for organizing this event and for all of you for being here. Just the amount of people that are here and the number of candidates shows the love that we share for the city, and this really is a beautiful experience for us all. So good, better, best, never let it rest until the good is your better and your better is your best. And so I ask us all to think, what does it take to be the best Bowie that we can be? And we can accomplish that through innovation, and we can accomplish that through coming together. And so earlier today, I asked you all to kind of reimagine the city that we want to live in. And so let's come together, let's re-envision, and let's reimagine our community. As your incumbent, I ask that we imagine the possibilities of what we can accomplish together if we just do that. If we come together and just think differently, broaden our perspectives. What that entails is for all of us to have a voice and to have our voices heard, to have a seat at the table.
10 seconds.
Thank you. At the seat at the table and for us to plan what we want the city to look like today, tomorrow, and in the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been quite an evening, and I'm honored to be here, and certainly like to thank the League of Voters and all our fellow residents for coming today. The reason why I wanted to run for this particular seat is because local government is really the best place to help your neighbors. And our race is very interesting because you have 5 people with 5 compelling stories. And we're not really running against each other, we're running for something. We're running to help, to serve our neighbors. And that's why I got into this race. I've been fortunate to be endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police in Bowie and Council Chair Todd Turner because of my long level of service and commitment. Running to help my neighbors. Not running to be a politician, but a public servant. Thank you.
Good evening once again. My name is Helen King. I came to Bowie in 1988 here at Bowie High School. I stayed here 2 years as a vice principal teaching biology, chemistry, and physics, and went on over to Duval and started the aerospace program, and somehow they sent me back again in the early 1990s, and I'm here now. I'm running for Bowie District 4. and I truly hope that I win because I want to see a lot of positive things happen, especially to our schools. Our environment is doing some wonderful things, but in order for us to keep people wanting to come to Bowie, we've got to do our part. People always look, one, at housing, and I feel they also look at education. Love you, and I wish you have a good evening. Thank you.
Can I stand?
Yes.
Can I ask a question to the audience?
Sure.
Can't start my time because I haven't started yet. How many District 4 residents are in the audience right now, currently? The lights is blinding me, so I really can't see. Okay.
3 or 4.
All right, so you can start my time now. So listen, guys, my platform is real simple. I'm just like you, okay? That's why I'm running. I want to be a strong advocate for you. So my platform is to bring in small businesses. Small business is going to boost the economy for the city and also for the district. Also, it's going to create jobs and boost the property value in people's homes, not residential building. Okay, residential building is going to increase your taxes, all right? So by bringing in small businesses, also, I want to reduce the taxes for small businesses and also reduce the taxes for you guys. Because as an adult, you want to know, what are you guys going to do for me? Everything is not always about education. Because under 18, you can't vote anyway. So you guys been working all your entire life. You want to know, what can you do for me right now? Reducing the taxes for you guys, reducing the taxes for small businesses, getting 301 widened, and getting 197 widened as well, okay? That is my platform. I want to be a strong advocate for you guys. I have tons and tons of experience. I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a strong advocate because I've been advocating all my life. Thank you.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Derrick Mallard, Bowie City Council, District 4 candidate. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I appreciate you coming out just to hear our platforms, what we have to offer and what we have to bring. Ladies and gentlemen, I am running for City Council of District 4, and I do have a platform, building community, responsible economic development, transportation, and public safety. But what I bring, ladies and gentlemen, is accountability, transparency, commitment, and a voice. I was endorsed by many, many groups, but there's nothing like being endorsed by the community that you live in, the community that you serve, the community that you want the best for. Ladies and gentlemen, with your vote, I will work very hard to make sure that you get everything you need. And once again, my name is Derrick Mallard, Bowie City candidate, District 4, and yes, I will work hands-on on every detail I'm on. Thank you.
Time.
Hi, everyone. This is Roxy again. I just want to start off by thanking you for being here during the Nationals game and the debate. It means a lot. I'm really grateful to be sitting up here with so many different candidates from different walks of life that are all products of Bowie. You know, we're all running on different platforms here, but the most important thing is we need a fresh perspective. We need someone that's going to promote accountability and transparency. We need someone that's going to push our city forward and include our youth in that. We need someone that's going to, promote sustainability, that's going to preserve our community, and that's going to look at more advanced pathways forward. And that's really why I'm running. So I ask for your support on November 5th to vote for Roxy. Thank you.
Let's give all of our candidates a round of applause. I think we should give our audience a round of applause as well. I certainly want to thank our timekeeper for doing an excellent job keeping us on track, Ms. Sheila Giles. And since you've invested about 3 hours with the candidates, I guess you can give me about 1 more hour, right? Tonight I have an announcement to make, and that is that the Candidates Forum will be rebroadcast starting October 17th, Channel 10, FiOS 71 Comcast, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays at 7 p.m., each week until Election Day. Channel 12, FiOS 78 Comcast daily at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 7 p.m. It's also going to be on the city website, www.cityofbowie.org/view meetings. Don't forget to get out to vote on November the 5th. I thank you again for giving us your time and your attention. Good night.